Welcome to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast, where we discuss cutting-edge techniques, industry trends, and business insights to take your fence or deck company to the next level and dominate your competition. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Alex Danner, and also the owner and founder of Fence and Deck Marketers, which is a marketing agency that works exclusively with fencing and decking businesses. And today I have an exciting episode for you. I know as of late, bringing on a lot of different business owners, contractors, things like that. But we're going to be mixing it up a little bit today and going through something that I think everyone's going to find really cool. I know I did when I first heard about it. So today I have Bart Stuchell from StoneDek. So Bart, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking with us. How's it going?
Hey, thanks, Alex, for having me. I'm excited to be able to talk to your audience about the stone deck revolution that's taking place in America.
Yeah, me too. And did I say your last name right? Stuchell?
Yeah, Stuchell.
Okay,
Stuchell.
Perfect.
You're above average, Alex.
Yeah, I'm glad I got that right. It was 50-50, yeah, so Bart reached out, I believe it was Facebook, and basically just hopped on a call shortly after that, and we were talking all about StoneDek. And quite honestly, I didn't know a whole lot about all about this and kind of the ins and outs of it, but I'm not a contractor either, so just kind of know what our clients are using. But I wanted to bring Bart on the podcast so we could learn more about this and kind of how it all works. So Bart, if you could just to start things off, I guess just tell us a little bit about your backstory would be great. Maybe things leading up to StoneDek, your background, how you got into this, anything like that would be terrific.
Yeah. Real quick, not that it's pertinent, but I started as a single mom on welfare, and then grew up as a machinist. I used to re-roof houses, remodel houses, and I built my own house that I live in today. And a friend of mine called me up one day, and he said, "Hey, let's go for a ride." And he actually put a stone deck down the center of a wooden deck. And he says, "Boy, Bart, you need to develop a product to make this a whole lot easier, because in 3 or 5 years, this is going to rot." And I said, "Okay." So I own a plastic injection molding company. And I went to the plastic show in Chicago, Illinois, and we was able to see this little grate that they make. It's a 12 by 12. They put molds on it on concrete. Long story short, I looked at it as one of them aha moments and said, "Wow, if I go boom, boom," and I know standard construction is 16-inch on center. And so I hired an engineer to help me design the Silka Grate, we called it at that point. Back in the day, we called it Silka System. And fast forwarding, we now changed the name to StoneDek Systems, I don't know, 8 years ago or so, 6 years ago. And we now have over 2 million square feet in the marketplace. And we're excited about what the future brings, because more and more people are aware of the StoneDek systems and what stone brings to the value of their homes.
Gotcha. Okay. So it basically, okay. How long ago did you first get that idea? Or
2007, we invented it.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yep.
And then I guess fast forward to, fast forward today, could you just kind of explain a little bit, I'm sure the listeners of this have a better idea than I do, but maybe just for me to kind of explain, the differences. I mean, really, maybe just explaining the system, I guess, what's different about things like that.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity again, Alex, to explain it, because I also have a lot of this information in my head, so I assume people know things, and it's a weakness of mine. But at the end of the day, the Silka Grate is 16 inches wide, 18 inches long, and it's designed that way for the 16-inch on center joist system. And I sorry about that. The 16-inch on center joist. It's a honeycomb grate. We all know the strength of honeybees and the honeycombs. And because when I started to invent this product, I didn't think the weight was going to be able to carry that load between the joists throughout the system. And a little backstory: I worked with engineers for 15 years of my life as a machinist, so I have a little technical streak in me. Well, in designing this, I wasn't sure I was able to carry that load. Well, long story short, we was able to accomplish that with the honeycomb grate. And it's a very, very strong system. We actually built internal testing in the manufacturing facility that we literally take a 4 by 8 brick, steel brick, and load it with a load cell. And we can put 600 pounds on that, and it deflects less than 5/16 of an inch. And that's equivalent to a ton per square foot. So the Silka Grate is super strong. I always would encourage your listeners to, you got to look at the structure of your deck. 16-inch on center. We recommend your footings to be 6 foot on center versus 8 foot on center is the only recommendation. Now you can go 8 foot and that meets all code, but I recommend 6 foot just because it's like walking on the ground when you go 6 foot on center with 2x8s. So it's a very solid system. Many people use from concrete pavers to porcelain, granite, marble, slate, bricks, pavers, any stone known to man, you can literally put on the Silka Grate system. And basically, in a nutshell, the Silka Grate is a subfloor. Now you can put anything on top if you want. And that means ungauged stone and gauged stone. And I can talk another time if somebody wants to talk about the ungauged, because there's some details on that, where you put a small sand bed in there and then you hit it with a dead blow hammer to get it to look like, but it's a beautiful look. But it's a high-end look, is a high-end price to do that as well. But we have the ability to do ungauged and gauged stone.
Okay. So I guess with this system, basically what you're saying is the StoneDek selling just the system that you would then bring in the stone, the porcelain, all these different materials to do that? Or is that part of a system, or how does that work?
Well, the system essentially is my honeycomb grate that you screw onto your joist. We sell spacers, we sell the deck tapes, and we even have some stones available now. So that's coming actually first of the year. One of the new things I mentioned to you before we got on the podcast. So we're going to be being a one-stop shop moving forward in many aspects of the deck supply world.
Okay. So then they would basically go and get those materials otherwise, though, or like that's how it's traditionally been done, and then it just has to be cut to fit the system.
Historically, they would buy the Silka Grates from us, the deck tapes, the geotextile fabric blanket that keeps the polymeric sand from going through the grate, and then they would buy the stone from your, dow tiles, bell guards, unilocks, all the stone people across the United States.
Okay. Okay. And maybe it would just be, it would definitely help me, but like maybe if we could walk through like a typical deck, and I think for the contractors listening to this, like the process, I guess, like the tradition versus the traditional using wood or composite, but like, it doesn't have to be excruciating detail, but like maybe a summary or something to say, like from day one, you want to start a deck, what's the differences, like, until the day it's actually installed, the homeowners on it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can do that. And just so you know, one of the reasons people are choosing stone decks quite often is people are tired of staining and painting the decks. As we know, certain composites fade and they're hot on the feet. So there's concrete pavers now. It's cool on the feet. Natural stone's cool on the feet. So there's lots of merits that the StoneDek system brings to the table. But simply, in a nutshell, in a very quick version. Basically, you build your deck standard 16-inch on center joist system. Like I said, I recommend to put the footings six foot on center. You can put the screw pilings in. You can put the regular footings in. It's your choice. From there, you have your. We're just going to say a 20 by 20 deck, just for conversation's sake. And we recommend to put a full grate and then a half grate. Just like when you put plywood or anything on the floor or roof, you always stagger your joints. So we recommend that accordingly. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but we recommend you stagger your joint. That's just simply taking a circular saw, cutting a Silka Grate in half, start with a full one, half one, full one, half one, full one, half one. And that it's just good construction methods, Alex, is what that's about. So now it takes, we do speed tests at the HNA show down in Louisville, Kentucky. By the way, it's coming up here the 23rd, I think it is, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. In Louisville, Kentucky. We'll be there if anybody wants to stop by. But we've actually done speed tests on how long it takes the Silka Grate to be put down. The fastest on record is 17 seconds. So the reality is it doesn't take long to put the Silka Grates down. Many people say, oh, that looks complex. It's not. You take 4 number 9 deck screws and put in each corner. And that's right on top of your joist. After you put your deck tape on there, and then you create your subfloor, and then you start putting your stone on there accordingly. And then, and of course, you got to cut stone versus wood. That's one of my biggest challenges of getting the StoneDek system in the marketplace, because carpenters and contractors like to cut wood, and hardscapers like to cut stone. So what we do, we actually have some deck contractors hiring the hardscapers to come put stone. You know, some of the bigger contractors understand that, and they do the wood they know how to do best, and they have the hardscapers do what they do best. But it's, you know, it's personal preference on your own business how you like to do things. But that being said, we typically recommend that you put after you put the Silka Grate down, we said head down. I told you it takes, you know, 15, 20 seconds to put a grate down. And then you put a geotextile blanket. And then we have two things. We have what you call a Silka mat, which is a recycled rubber tile that's permeable, and that lets water go through it. That's for the porcelain, because porcelain, when you walk on it, dings. It's got a ring to it. So we put a piece of rubber, recycled rubber underneath it to deaden that sound. If you're using concrete pavers, you simply put a geotextile blanket. And the reason for the blankets, either or, is when you put polymeric sand in between the joints where the water can go through, that keeps your pavers in place. We recommend to take the perimeter, outside perimeter, and we have an adhesive called SB190, SureBond 190. It's 2000 PSI. And what's more important than anything to your listeners, it's 400% elongation. And what that means, when you glue any dissimilar materials, like between, say, porcelain and wood, the thermal expansion rate on them are different. So if the sun hits that porcelain, it's going to grow that porcelain at a different rate than wood. So therefore, the expansion rate is different. So that SB190, I don't want to get into weeds too far, but SB190 is a 400% elongation, and we highly recommend that so it doesn't shear the adhesive once it's down. So that we can help people with that as needed. So anyway, you have the geotextile blanket down, and then you'll start your stone. And then we recommend gluing the stone on the outside perimeter, and then everything else is what we call a dry lay in between. Then you sand it, sweep in the sand accordingly. We have people not using polymeric sand at all right now. We just had a call yesterday. So it's customer preference. Do they want the sand? Don't they want the sand? Do they like that look? Don't they like that look? Do you want a wide joint, a narrow joint? So there's lots of tiling questions that comes into mind with our system, but that's between the contractor and the homeowner is how that works, Alex. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I'm doing my best to follow along. Some of the stuff is over my head, but I think I'm following. So
yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like, it kind of seems like something, I guess the first thought that came to my mind, you know, steel framing wasn't always around, and putting something together like that is probably, you know, scary to contractors, whatever you want to call it, you know, a little bit different. So, but I mean, that's taking off right now, and, you know, a lot of people are using them. So for something like this, I mean, is that something that you've seen where they just think it might be more complicated to install than it is, and you just have to, you know, once you kind of educate them on it, you know, it clears it up and it's, you know, not as tough as they're thinking?
That glove fits the hand very well with the StoneDek system, because we consider it a high education. Even though it's a very simple system, when you look at the honeycomb grate over deck, oh man, that looks complex. But you just hit on something. The metal joist system it's really moving well in the marketplace right now. We welcome metal joist. And what we do is we now call it the forever deck. When you put a metal joist system down and you put my plastic engineered polymer Silka Grate on top of that, there ain't nothing rotten. It's going to be there forever.
Yeah, right.
And until you're ready to take it out. It is a forever deck now, because you put stone, porcelain on top, it ain't going anywhere either. So it's a beautiful system nowadays.
Yeah, I was just wondering that, because I know, you know, composites are, you know, like up to 50 year. I mean, what does it typically look for, like, for the warranties on these? I mean, does it ever, I know it could crack or something, but like, do you ever have issues with it?
Yeah, and actually the Silka Grate, we use recycled material, so it's a green product. And we don't say 100%, because sometimes we have what they call virgin plastic resins in there, but most of the time it's 90+% recycled car parts and things of that nature in the Silka Grate system. Gotcha. And so we treasure that, and we built systems and quality control things in place to make sure we put the product out there. The number one problem with plastics in the world is it's filling up landfills. We've heard that once or twice in our life. So you don't have to worry about the plastic. And as I mentioned to you early on in the podcast here, that Silka Grate is engineered and designed to take over a ton per square foot without breaking.
Right.
yes, it bends. We know it bends and we designed it that way, but it doesn't break when you put 600 pounds on a 4x8 brick. So it's super, super strong. And we designed it to be that way coming out in the marketplace. And it's a very, very secure. Like I said, we have over 2 million square feet in the marketplace.
Gotcha. Okay. Now for the, you mentioned a whole bunch of different materials that can be used for it: stone, tile, pavers, porcelain.
Yeah.
So is there any, like, does that have to be a certain thickness? I mean, is there any like regulations on that or anything like that?
Good question. We recommend 3/4 inch to 3 inch. And
Wow. Okay.
honestly, you can go to 6 inch, but we know that nobody's gonna pay for 6 inch. And we know 60 millimeter paver is standard in industry. That's 2.4 inches. So the point is, we say 3/4 to 3 inch.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, so, compared to what's existing, I mean, what would you say, like, if you had to pick the top things that are really make, this system better than existing wood, composite, things like that? I mean, what would you think really stands out as like the primary advantages?
Well, the value it brings to your home is one big advantage to a homeowner. Another advantage that we bring to the table is whenever we're at shows, we have a husband and wife, say are talking, asking questions about the StoneDek system, and I always look at the husband and I say, hey, what's nice about this system? Whenever she changes her mind because she doesn't like that color, you can take the stone off and put a new color on.
Yeah.
And he shakes his head. He says, "Yeah, no, that's going to happen." So the reality is, it's that's a benefit because once you put the subfloor down, you can change your stone out every year if you want. But so that's an advantage that you can't do with your composite lumbers and things of that nature. And we've had people change it out. People tell us about changing it out. So there's an advantage to that. Just going down to the subfloor and then putting new stone on. And as you know, concrete pavers have come a long ways in their color, their colors through the stone and things like that. And now porcelain has come on for the last, 7, 8 years. Porcelain is the very, very popular choice for the homeowners because it doesn't stain and it doesn't wear. It's just a very, very popular item right now in the porcelain market.
Okay. And do those, how do the pricing typically compare to wood or
If
composite, for those materials?
Yeah, if you compare to the high-end composites of the Trexes, the Timber Texas, and the others of the world, we are either the same price or actually sometimes we're cheaper depending on the marketplace and which market we're in. But we love the composite market to the point that they got the prices up there where we can compete very effectively with them on a. We don't compete at the womanized lumber where you're just putting wood on a deck. And we don't compete with the composites that are fading, and all that stuff. But the high end composites, we can compete head to head with them.
Okay. So I think one thing I'm just kind of confused on. So I knew that like a bunch of different materials can be used for it. I mean, are those all pretty similar in cost too? Like if you're talking
Well,
tile or porcelain and all
well,
that stuff.
well, they all vary, and
Right. That's
I don't know all the pricings of that. But that's up to contractor and the homeowner to decide what they want. I mean, you can go to Home Depot and get $2 a square foot pavers and put stone on there. And we've recommended that. People who's tight on tight budgets, so they'll come in and put the Silka system in, and they'll go to Home Depot. They say, hey, when my budget in 3 years, 4 years, then I'm going to go put the porcelain on there. I'm going to go put the granite on there. I'm going to, they can do different things. And that's, again, the beauty of the StoneDek system is you can fit it in your budget now, and then in 2 years, 3 years, you can upgrade it to whatever you really want to have on there.
gotcha.
Another big feature of StoneDek brings to the table, and again, that's another reason we work alongside with the composite folks. People might want to put a fireplace or a fire pit or something like that on their wooden deck. So what they do is they take the StoneDek system and put an insert in there. So that's so the sparks of the fire doesn't come out on the plastic lumber, and therefore it can cause a fire. So they'll put stone around that fire pit and be safe about that approach. We have people using what do you call accents for the StoneDek system within that. Sometimes it takes a little creativity on the construction of the deck itself, but by and large, you can use the StoneDek system all around, and then you can do the outside perimeter with a composite board. So, say somebody might not like gluing the pavers on the outside edge, excuse me. Well, they'll put the composite boards out there, and that they feel better about holding the stone on it. That's, the porcelain on there. So it's kind of really a blank artist canvas to the contractor. It's whatever you and the customer wants to do. We can help you create that masterpiece of a StoneDek system.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to me, what the first thing I thought about when we first spoke was like kind of what you were talking about, the accents of it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we have clients that'll have, outdoor kitchens and stuff. And I believe, I don't know if they use stone decks or not, but I've seen where they use different tiles and stuff on the, around the kitchen, I guess. It just, kind of break up the deck or whatever. But yeah, to me, something like that really stands out because you don't see it that often. I mean, it's not, to me, that would be the perfect thing to sell to a higher end customer too. Somebody that wants something different and I guess pay
Yep.
for that quality because they're looking for something that, is not as common, I guess, as composites or, it would stand out a lot to me if I saw, I've never seen one in person, just in pictures, but I know if I
Yeah.
saw that, that would really stand out to me.
Yeah, we have one contractor using our Silka Grate to make countertops on their deck,
Huh.
so they can put stone on their countertop. So they're getting creative right now out here in the marketplace with our system. So they can build a wood frame, and then they put my grate right on top, and that allows them to put a stone, whatever it's a porcelain or concrete paver, right on top of it to finish the countertop surface, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I remember when we first spoke, I wanted to address this because something that popped into my head, and you were saying you kind of put my mind at ease, but about like cutting the materials. You were saying some people are kind of worried about that. You're saying it's not that hard. You mind just kind of talking about that a little bit?
Sure. The when it comes to cutting a board, that's easier than cutting a concrete paver. Which cutting a concrete paver is easier than cutting a piece of porcelain, by definition. The only difference is you use a similar saw. You just use a diamond blade versus a carbide tooth blade. And the difference is when you're cutting stone, and when you cut wood, you usually at the end you'll push that saw a little bit more to get it cut so the board doesn't fall off and chip or splinter. Well, on a stone, you want to cut very, very slowly at the end so it doesn't break, and you're cutting the stone or the porcelain all the way to the end so it don't chip that corner off. So it's just a matter of a little bit of a mindset when they're cutting stone versus wood. And it's more the trade itself. I mean, again, we have many contractors that's made the transition, and they love what they're doing now, and it brings a lot more creativity to the table. However, there's still a few out there that says I cut wood. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and this. But cutting it is all the same, just different blades and a little bit of different technique that you pick up on the first project.
Yeah. I think it all comes down to just kind of your mindset around it anyways. Like going back to the whole steel framing example, we talked to a lot of contractors and some of them are worried about, they're just saying our clients won't pay for it. They just won't pay for it, and that's kind of what's stuck in their mind. But there's probably other reasons for it. Maybe they're going after the wrong type of customer. They're in the area that is with customers that can't even afford that, or maybe they do want it. And it's just something they just think, it's ingrained in their mind. But I like the idea of something like this. I mean, especially because this is more marketable or easier to market than just a framing, because nobody sees the frame and all that. It's kind of like a just better way to do things. But this is something you could have on your website in your marketing, have a separate page on your website that's talking about like this. So especially if nobody in your area is doing it either. I mean, that's another way for you to stand out and kind of separate yourself and maybe attract those higher end projects is kind of what I would think too.
But we always say it's nice to have that extra arrow in your quiver, saying
yeah.
When you get to that right market, you can pull that out as an option. It's a good, better, best of what we all do. And this is by far the best system in the marketplace today. The StoneDek system, you can't compare anything in the market from wood composites to stone. To natural stone or porcelain or your concrete pavers. Concrete pavers have come a long ways over the years, and they're all viable options to put on the StoneDek system.
Yeah. And I'm just curious too. I was thinking about like accessories, lighting. I mean, is there anything that people are also using with these different materials? I know that's not something that you're providing, but maybe to give somebody else some ideas of how they kind of mix it up or make it stand out, with the stone.
And I'll take that one step further. There's some people taking acrylic and putting in place of a paver and putting LED lights in it and showing the different color lights
That's
throughout
cool.
there. So just enough ambient lights that for when you're out there in the evenings, it just adds a nice touch.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
creativity is unlimited, Alex, with the system because that honeycomb grate has got like 2-inch honeycomb. You can shine light up through that very, very easy. Uh, and other than that, other than being able to be more creative than traditional decking options, you're able to just let your brain go on how I always say how she wants to light it up. You can do that. And
Yeah.
and you can use traditional lighting with the StoneDek system as well. Yes, you have to use a core bit to drill a hole down through a piece of porcelain or concrete paver, but it's not insurmountable.
Gotcha. Okay. Any new, I guess, innovations or anything like that going forward? I know that's kind of a system that's been proven. I'm just curious, anything that's kind of
Well,
expanding on?
Well, interesting you asked that is I have a patent on the StoneDek system and we are the original out there. There's a few out there duplicating our products, which is a concern and we're addressing that as well. But we did just get a patent here, I'm going to say 2 years, 3 years ago for your commercial people that's listening to the podcast. There's a big concern about uplift. And I haven't got the product fully developed, but I did get a patent on it and it's for uplift on commercial rooftops out in the marketplace. And I'm actually looking for some commercial people who's doing rooftops that want to work with me on that full development on that, and we can structure that however we want. But I do have a patent on the uplift, and I'm pretty certain I can meet all of Dade County hurricane requirements with that design.
Can you
Should
explain that a little bit more? I'm a little bit
yeah. Okay, that's gets in the technical world on you, Alex, a little bit.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if you explain like I'm a 5-year-old the best you
Yeah,
can.
in the commercial rooftop applications, and you may or may not know this, they use what they call a pedestal system on roofs, and then they put a joist on the pedestal sometimes with my system, then they put their pavers on that. What they're worried about is that on a high storm, like a hurricane, 120-mile-an-hour wind might pick up a porcelain paver or a concrete paver or a natural stone and throw it off the building and kill somebody down on the street.
Yeah.
So now there's different companies that have some differences, but I did just get a patent on my idea and my application, and without going into the weeds too far, my system prevents the porcelain from being pulled up by the wind and thrown over the building and hurt somebody. And but in all due respect, I have not fully developed it. I got the approval patent on the concept. And with me being in the research and development for 15 years when I was a machinist, I'm pretty confident what we got will work. I just haven't had time to develop it.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotcha. Okay.
Does that follow you? Is that
Yeah.
making sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. It was good to hear and once you started talking about that blowing off the roof, that started to make more sense too.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
okay. I mean, so all right. Obviously this works for decks. I mean, you're saying it works for kitchens, the countertops. I mean, are they using it for anything else? Like, is it ever used
Yep.
for like just a patio or
Front
walkways?
porches. Yep, front porches is a real nice one we get put on. You got decks. I always say decks, docks, bridges, balconies, gazebos
Okay.
is the main area. So people making arch bridges sometimes over they have a little waterway in their yard. You got the balconies, was zillions of balconies on apartment buildings. The people got the little, 8 by 10 balcony out there in the end. So any elevated surface, you can put the StoneDek system. And I didn't get into it, but I'll just go down that road a little bit. When I designed the Silka Grate, I designed it so you can do both new construction, which the Silka Grate goes on top of the joist, or remodel construction, which you can cut 1.5 inches off the Silka Grate and drop it between the joists and put two sister joists on that joist. So now you're starting at the same elevation. Again, I don't like to go into weeds too far. It's hard to articulate that when you're just on the podcast. But anybody has questions, they can call our alliance number 330-821-1585 or go to our website and we'll hand carry you and tell you exactly how people are doing that.
Okay. Okay. And kind of like the whole training stuff I'm curious about too. I mean, if somebody were to get started with this, I mean, how do they, I mean, is it just pretty easy to know? Like, is there instructions that come with it? How does that work where you kind of teach people how to use it properly?
One, we got, of course, YouTube videos, pretty intense videos. We have lots and lots of technical information on our website and YouTube videos. But if there's any questions at all, we man the phones, all day long, and we'll be glad to help. And we've been out on sites and help people we went out and trained whole sales teams for our dealers out here. They did the manager's deck one year. I went out on that project, and so it was not a contractor one. It was all salespeople, and we all did it together. So it's that simple of a system. It just takes a little bit of thinking on the process on how we do things. That's all.
Yeah, it's got to
One
learn
of the
it.
most one of the most important things on the training that we teach everybody, Alex, is if you're going to put porcelain on your deck, which porcelain usually comes 2 foot by 2 foot as a rule, as a standard format. Well, you got to make sure that your wood joist, comes with a crown in it. So we actually to put a laser or stringer across that, and you plane the crown out. We want a flat deck. That's why we really embrace the metal joist system, because the metal joists are flat, and it's less headaches on the contractor's behalf. But wood joist systems have been around forever. They'll still be around for a long time. You just put a stringer across it, run a laser across it, and plane it down where it's flat. And what happens is you get a paver, it may wobble. And we can help your contractors. If they get a wobble, we can tell them how to fix it very, very easily. But at the end of the day, if you build a joist system that's flat and true, and we recommend a little pitch away from the house, it's a pretty straightforward system. It's really simple.
Okay. Is there any materials that just work best, or any that like you would kind of stay away from? Like it works with it, but it's not the ideal thing to work with the system?
Yeah, no, we that's what's unique about the StoneDek system, Alex, is there's no gotchas. Let me say it that way.
Yeah.
It's a really robust system and a pretty straightforward system. Everybody has a question here and there just because of their experiences, but at the end of the day, they fire off a text or an email to us, and we answer their questions. They call us on the phone. We answer questions. They're off and running. So it's a pretty straightforward system.
Okay. And just curious, like, the people that are using it most now, anything that I guess stands out of, I don't know, is there geographic regions where people tend to, like this more, or is there just a certain type of contractor that, I don't know, is typically drawn, like a demographic that you kind of go after? I mean, is there anything like that where you think it might be best for certain contractors versus others?
Yeah, no, good question. Typically, we're going to be working with the contractors who are already in the marketing of the higher end world. Those who are working in a womanized lumber world, we're just not able to compete in that market. But anybody that's has worked with any of the high end Trexes or TimberTex products out there, that we compete head to head with them on that product. And as far as what part of the country, we're in the East Coast and the West Coast strong. And we actually have a couple contractors now that all they do is the StoneDek Systems. That's it. Like I said, they may use Trex to do the outside edges and things like that, depending on the customer's request. But by and large, we're starting to find contractors who use the StoneDek system exclusively. And we're looking to start to incentivize that moving forward here in 2026.
Huh. Okay. Is there any, I mean, are they in bigger cities? I mean, is there anything you could say to kind of where the people that are adopting it most, have a big market, just higher end market, anything like that?
Yeah, I would call that common sense. When we're not marketing to the womanized marketplace, we're marketing to the higher end folks. And we get inquiries on the website every day. We're doing all kinds of SEO things on the internet, and so we're fortifying all that right now. It's going to get exciting here in 2026 and what we're doing. And I didn't share earlier, since we've been recording, is that I just sold my plastic injection molding business, and that's where I was putting my focus since 2020 anyway. And now I'm full time focusing on StoneDek. So it's about to get exciting in the StoneDek's world, and we're going to have some fun here moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned a conference you're going to. So, you going to any others where you guys will get people
Well,
to see it in person?
we do the HNA show, and then we are members of the North American Deck and Rail Association. That's NADRA.
Yep.
And we work closely with those folks and working with their contractors, all members any way we can. But we're not, we work with the AIA, which is the Architect Institute of America. So we do their brown bag luncheons and things of that nature and training there. We have videos that they can train on. They get their continuing education credits. We're on SpecLink. So we're on, we're out there in all that world getting specced out and things of that nature as well. And but no, we're really excited about what's coming here in 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'd be cool. Unless they do and I miss this, that'd be cool if there was a Nadra category for I'm sure there is like something this would fit into, but having their own, like the Nadra summit that they have where they do all their awards.
Oh yeah, we got awards on the wall, right on the other side of the room.
Nice. Yeah.
We've won many awards from NADRA.
Oh, okay. So do they have a category for like
So I think it's called other.
Okay, yeah.
Alex, what's going on here, since I'm the inventor, the originator of the StoneDek Systems, it's a paradigm shift in the industry. Even though it's been since '07, now it's been, what is that? No, 18 years. At the end of the day, it's still catching on. And now it's starting to catch on very, very well right now. We're starting to, the wave is starting to take full shape, if you will. But it's still tough when you're a small guy to get the marketing you need to get that wave in full form, to get that tsunami effect of where we're coming. But we're only a couple years out from that tsunami effect of where StoneDek is headed.
Yeah. Gotcha. And I know you got some different or a bunch of plans and stuff where you're kind of going forward with that. So excited. I think that's to be determined though, right? We can yeah.
Yep.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, if you had to say, I know as we're kind of winding down here, I mean, anything you would say to maybe the contractors? I mean, those are our listeners are going to be the contractors. So any kind of last things you would say to them, maybe they're a little bit skeptical or they're just a little bit worried, or, anything you could say to, really push them in this direction and give it a try and see what it could do for their business.
No, absolutely. A good question there, Alex, to the point that I can honestly say that other than me doing roofs, I was never been a deck contractor or a new home contractor. Now, I've built lots of homes. I've done labor for lots of that, but I've never been a contractor. But I would just say to you contractors, embrace some change. Yes, it'll take you one deck to get a couple wrinkles ironed out. But once you get the wrinkles ironed out here, you're full steam ahead, and you'll be the first in your geographic area, likely, that you'll be able to differentiate your expertise in your hometown. And I just say embrace change. We'll come side by side and walk with you on any issues that you may have, and we're very well known for that. Our customer service is I consider one of the best in the industry, because that's one of the main things I care about, is taking care of the contractors. I grew up with very little means. I grew up with as a small business in mind, and I'm all about reaching out and helping the small guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask one more thing. So like always curious, always like to ask guests, like the future of the deck outdoor living industry, with things like steel framing, things like this, composites that last a really long time. What do you think the future holds for the decking industry if there's less wood decks to be replaced because of rot, or, just less lower quality things, and, less need for somebody to come and replace their deck or whatever the case may be? What do you think holds with the deck industry? Do you think it'll become a problem, or do you think just keep, innovating things like you're doing?
It's interesting you ask that, because there's like over 6.25 billion square foot market. That's an older number, so there's even more than that today. So when you say 6.25 billion square foot marketplace, that's a lot of square feet.
Yeah.
I will never even do a fraction of that in my lifetime. So I would tell everybody, don't get concerned about that. You go out here and you put your best foot forward. You sell what your strengths are, and you do the right thing for the customer, and good things will happen. And that's what I will tell people, and I actually walk with the Lord. And the point is, the Lord will direct your efforts as he sees fit with your skill set too. Not everybody wants to go with that, but that's how I feel about it. And if you just go put one foot in front of another out here, good things will happen. Stay focused and do what you do best.
Yeah, and I would agree. I and definitely wasn't saying like that's just going to be removed or anything like that. I was just wondering like if it could see a decline, like what that balance might look like eventually, you know, because right now there's so much cool stuff like what you're doing. I mean, all these louver pergola, you know, there's just so many cool screen, you know, porches. There's just amazing, amazing stuff out there. So I was just curious, like if you think, you know, just great companies like you will just keep innovating and people will just naturally want more stuff because outdoor living is cool and people like it, or, you know, it could go the other way and just decline a little bit or steadily decline. So
Yeah, and I would tell you that decline, Alex, is many years out. I
yeah,
don't see that in force through. And if you may know it, but there's over 1 million new houses built every year.
yeah,
So that being said, there's plenty of opportunity out here for every deck contractor.
for
You
sure.
know, if
Yep,
an individual can do deck contracting, they can do porches. There's so with that skill set, they could feed their family for a long, long time. And again, I'm a guy that don't focus on that world. I want to
yep,
say let's focus on the positive things and let's teach the contractors what other goods and services they can bring to the table to help their consumers get what they want out of life. And I
yeah,
have a saying, I don't know whose it is, but if you help enough other people get what they want out of life, yours will come.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so true. That's so true. And yeah, and I agree. Nobody should have that mentality whatsoever. I guess I just took it, you know, wanted to see what you thought since you're, you know, high in the industry and, you know, have a lot of influence, things like that. But yeah, I mean, anybody that gets hooked on that mentality it is just a bad snowball effect that's going to happen. You know, there's always ways, even if worst case scenario that something like that did happen or the economy stumbles or whatever, there's always a way to pivot and, you know, continue to grow. You know, some businesses are had a down year this year, you know, because the economy was,
Yep.
I guess, historically lower. And then others were thriving, you know, others doubled, tripled their business. So I hear that all the time when people talk to us and have calls with us. I just really hope anybody listening to this just knows there's always something you can do. And I mean, marketing is a big piece of that. So, you
Hmm.
know, there's always some kind of change, tweak, things you can make. And, you know, even if it was a smaller piece, it just means you got to find a way to get a bigger piece of that smaller pie, you know? So there's always
Exactly.
ways. So
And you know as well as I know it, and your listeners know this. If you're just out there doing quality work, you're already differentiating yourself because
yeah,
we've all
yeah,
seen the other, and I don't
yeah,
like to focus in that world either. But if you focus on what you do best and do good quality work, the work will come, guys. It will come for sure.
yeah. And just put their needs first, you know? I mean, if
100%.
that's your sole focus, good thing, like you said, good things are going to come to you. But
Yep.
it's also, I mean, does anybody enjoy putting up a deck and the customer's pissed off at you? I don't think
Exactly.
anybody does, you know, but they love it when they're thrilled and they can't wait to get their family out there and all that stuff. So I know the grind can be hard with business and it, you know, got to make payroll and things like that and deal with all the
Yep.
craziness, but try to keep your mind in that
Yeah,
we
and
love.
again, if you focus on the outcome of that deck with the people, grilling the hot dogs and hamburgers and enjoying the family and friends, at the end of the day, if you stay focused on what you're bringing to bringing families back together in America, how can you not get excited about not bringing about bringing families to America
Yeah.
together? I mean, and that's an awesome thing to be doing in America today is bringing families back together, from my viewpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And
Mhm.
I love everything about outdoor living. I mean, just I don't get how anybody can't get excited about a nice new deck, new, you know, patio, porch, whatever. That's where I would spend all my time.
All
Fortunately,
right.
my wife doesn't like it, and I think we need a screened-in porch so the mosquitoes can stay out because we're she
Hey,
doesn't like
they got them
that.
out there,
Yeah, I
Alex.
know.
They're out there.
We just need to drop a couple tens of thousands, but you know, we'll get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You get there one step at a time.
Yeah, but all right. So Bart, I appreciate all this. I mean, is there anything additional you'd like to add before we kind of sign off here?
Um, I don't really have anything to add per se, other than the contractors listen. Hey, embrace some change, gentlemen, ladies. There's some ladies out there building decks, and I'm all about holding your hand and helping you get through all that. and StoneDek is here to serve you. And any way we can do that, just reach out to us, and we'll be glad to work together, lock, stock, and barrel.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can find it at StoneDeks, but it's DEKS. So one word, StoneDeks.com. So you can check out their website. They got all kinds of information on there. And can reach out that way if you're interested. But yeah, that kind of completes everything I have for you, Bart. I appreciate you coming out, and this was an exciting podcast. It was just, something new and fresh, and I learned a lot. I know everybody listening here did too. So appreciate you being
I got one thing for you, Alex.
Sure.
D comes before F, so deck should be on top of fence instead of fence deck.
Yeah. So our website's Deck Fence Marketers. So we split it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So going forward with the Fence and Deck Mastery podcast, we're going to continue episodes like this and trying to get more creative. Bring on great guests like this and mix it up a little bit. But also, we will be at Deck Expo, have a booth there. We have a fun challenge where you can win money. And if you're strong enough, just a little hint there. But we also have some class. I'm doing a teaching session at Deck Expo. We have a classroom that's talking about marketing, and would love to meet anybody that's on here listening. And I'll be sure to bring my A game there. So we bring some new, fresh stuff that's working. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, last thing. If you had any issues this year, looking to grow, anything like that, if you want us to look at your website, your online marketing, just looking for ideas, we can do a really comprehensive audit of all your marketing and really give you an idea of where you stand and, basically come up with a way to reach your goals for 2026. Because right now is hands down the best time to be doing SEO and preparing for spring. For some of the stuff like SEO, that does take time. So that is it. Bart, again, appreciate you coming on here, and looking forward to staying in touch.
Yep. Thanks so much, Alex. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.